There is a dynamic connection between governance, risk management, and compliance. Now, you might be a project manager or a manager in a business that doesn't really feel like they need these things, but every business needs governance, compliance, and risk management, or GRC as it's known in the biz. Let's break down what it is, why you need to use it, and how to get started. And if your company is already using GRC, this is a great primer to understand in general how GRC works. So let's get started. GRC essentially covers the big three: people, process, and technology. And more today, technology is a big player, but people are always going to fundamentally be the biggest part of GRC because it's how people implement it and how they maintain it and have due diligence to actually execute it. So why is GRC important to you, your organization, your project, your team, your department? It takes less time to do things right than to explain why you did it wrong. This is about doing things right, doing the right things right, actually. It's a balancing act. GRC helps you manage that balancing act, balancing profit against regulatory compliance, against risk mitigation, and against making sure the right things are being done right. So let's break that down a little bit more. So governance is the process and practices by which an organization sets the agenda, monitors, and achieves those goals. It defines the rules and the policies, procedures, ways of working, maybe the RACI model. In other words, who's responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Risk management is all about assessing, monitoring, managing, and executing risk mitigation. But risk in GRC is about the comprehensive strategy that allows risk mitigation to be seen as holistic and part of running the business. And then we have compliance. This can also have a lot to do with regulatory. If you're in an industry like automotive, manufacturing, certainly pharma, regulatory issues are going to be one of the top issues on the mind of your organization. Compliance is more than just making sure you're meeting laws. It's making sure that you're moral, that your company is doing the right things. And that's really important because employees today are looking for companies that they believe in, companies who do no harm. In compliance, we tend to see a unique component of compliance, which is called CSR. Corporate social responsibility takes compliance a level higher, aims higher, asks the organization to do more in the area of managing their business in a way that is sustainable, managing their people in a way that is fair and equitable, and managing their supply chain in a way that is not destructive to the planet, or at least minimizes destruction to the planet. So how to implement GRC? People. So with your people, it's about making sure the attitude is right, the culture is correct. And there's a lot more on culture I can say, but I'll put a link below to the whole video and worksheets I have on organizational culture and how you can improve it. You can also handle it through processes and procedures, putting in things like 4I principles, where a certain number of people have to check a transaction or an operation or a strategy. There is also oversight boards, and they put processes and procedures in place, as I mentioned, but also they are looking for the big picture on this GRC landscape. And the last one that's kind of newer is technology. Now with AI and BI and all the other analytical tools, we're able to see and flag the GRC issues faster. So we're going to see technology play a bigger and bigger role here. So how do you get started with GRC? Establish a framework. You need a GRC framework to understand how these things fit together and how they uniquely are managed. How they're managed at the organization level, the departmental level, and then at projects and team level. These things should be like an inverted pyramid where the major lines are drawn at the corporation level and then individuals are executing at the team level using those same frameworks but with more execution focus versus metadata and strategic focus. Assess risks. Assessing risks can be done as a project would do. In other words, understanding what risks could happen, what their impact to the project could be, and their likelihood to happen. And then, of course, creating a mitigation path for that. Now, this concept is one project managers know, and if you want to know more about that, I'll also leave in the show notes below my whole concept on risk management and my free downloadable to help you document risks. This kind of tool can help you understand what's behind the data so that when you're using an automated tool, you understand what's really happening. Next is implementing controls and monitors. This is just as important as the first two. If you're not watching things and managing what you see, then you may as well not do it. So you want to put in good controls with regular monitoring moments where that inverse pyramid starts going back up, where the team or local department see something, they escalate up when it's a big enough problem. That department escalates up to the corporate board when it's an even bigger problem. Before it's a problem, hopefully, when it's still in the mitigation scenario. And if you look at my decision log, when we see a problem, we don't just say that there's a problem. What are the options? And what are the potential solutions to those outcomes? And then within the information you have at that moment, what's the best decision to make? Create a continuous improvement plan, putting into place regular review and assessment. And again, as technology comes online more and more, this is more important than ever. In fact, related to this, creating an investment plan so that you can keep your technology up to date, your policies and your training of your people up to date is really important, especially if you're in high intensity regulatory environment. You're going to want to do that because you want to be ahead of the curve so that your people have the latest and greatest knowledge. You don't want to be caught out by underperforming with training. Transparency. This isn't just outward to governmental agencies or outward to your stakeholders such as stockholders, customers, etc. This is also transparency within your organization. Your people need to know that they can trust you. They need to know they can trust the processes and that you are doing the right thing. You're also looking at something else companies have a hard time doing these days, the long game. You're playing the long game with GRC. That relates to both managers on projects and organizations with boards. I hope this has given you some insights about what GRC is, what it does, how it helps, and how to implement it. And if you want to know more about governance models, watch this video. And if you want to know more about risk management, watch this video. And I'll see you next time on Project Skills Mentor.com. Bye-bye, everybody.